Entrepreneurship has proven to be quite essential over the years since it has the ability to improve standards of living and create wealth not only for the entrepreneurs but also for related businesses. Entrepreneurs also help drive change with innovation, as new and improved products enable new markets that can be developed further. Entrepreneurial management is the practice of applying entrepreneurial knowledge and utilizing the same to increase the effectiveness of new business ventures as well as small and medium sized businesses. Many new entrepreneurs often have ideas for businesses that they want to explore or products they want to create, but they lack the practical knowledge that is required to manage a small business effectively. Thus, entrepreneurial management facilitates the innovation inherent in entrepreneurship with a more solid management structure. If you're curious to know more about the same, stay right where you are, because in this course, you will explore the creation and management of startup businesses right from the scratch. So without further ado, let's get started right away.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions and I'll respond to your comments. Hello, my name is Shantanu Rana and today I will be teaching you this course on Entrepreneurial Management by Great Learning. But before we actually get into the depth of this topic, it is very important to understand that what exactly is an entrepreneur. Whenever we talk about starting a new venture, starting a new business, it becomes very important to manage all those things as well. And that is the role of management whenever we are talking about entrepreneurship. Now, what is an entrepreneur? How he is different from a manager or maybe from a business. These are certain things which are extremely important whenever we talk about the journey of an entrepreneur. And that is something we will be exploring in this particular course, starting from the scratch. It is a beginner friendly course and we will be starting from the very beginning how an entrepreneur actually start building all these concepts. What is the role of innovation in that? How technology comes into the picture? All of those things we will be starting from the very beginning. So let's not waste any time and directly move forward and try to cover the agenda first of all. So as you can see on the screen, the first thing that we are going to cover is what is entrepreneurial management. Now in this, I am going to give you the definition of entrepreneurial management and what exactly is the role of management when we talk about entrepreneurship. Then we will be seeing the difference between entrepreneur versus manager, how a manager is different from an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur versus businessman. So when we generally talk about a businessman, he generally follows all the traditional concepts, all the traditional ways of doing the business. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, that's all about innovation, all about new ventures. So we'll be seeing how exactly we can differentiate these two terms. Then in the fourth module, we will be seeing the journey of an entrepreneur, how it actually starts. What is the role of becoming a manager when we are talking about entrepreneur? That is also something we will be covering in this course. And then steps in entrepreneurial process. So there are different steps involved in this. Each and every step we will be covering in detail. Then the types of entrepreneurship, maybe it's about small business, maybe it's about large business, maybe it's for some social cause. All of those things we will be covering here. And then entrepreneurship styles, in that we will be seeing different types. Maybe sometimes each and every person will have a different kind of mindset. So whenever we are talking about any entrepreneur also, the reason that they have started the new venture, there can be several reasons behind that. So what are those reasons and what has changed in certain ways which has changed their style eventually? So that is also something we will be covering. And then characteristics of entrepreneurship. What are the different characteristics that an entrepreneur will be having? And in general about entrepreneurship, we'll be discussing. Then how do entrepreneurs benefit society? Do they? Yes, they do. Now, how do they do that? What are the certain roles that they play in order to benefit the society? That is also something we will be covering. And the need for entrepreneurial management. So, okay, we have understood that entrepreneurship is important. It is going to benefit the society also. It's all about innovation, starting the new venture. But what is the role of management in that? When we talk about innovation, when we talk about starting a new venture,
Why do we need to manage all of that? Maybe the human resources, maybe the financial resources, maybe the information resources, or maybe any other resources. What is the role of management, or what is the need of management in that particular area? That is the main agenda of this course, and that is something we will explore. Then at the end of this course, we will be seeing what is the benefit of entrepreneurial management plan. So what is the role of planning and plotting in this particular area, and how it is actually going to help the entrepreneur. So those are certain things that we will be exploring in this particular course. So let's not waste any time and just move forward and try to cover each of these modules one by one. All right. So now that we have understood that what all we are going to cover in this particular course, so let's first of all look at the definition of entrepreneurial management. What is the role of management when we talk about entrepreneurship? That is something we will be exploring in this particular module. So as you can see, what is entrepreneurship first of all? Entrepreneurship is the ability and readiness to develop, organize, and run a business enterprise by risk and initiative to make a profit. So what are the what and hows of it? Whenever we are talking about entrepreneurship, the main thing is what actually it is all about. It is about developing, it is about organizing, it is also about running. What? A business enterprise. And what is the main goal of it? That is to make a profit. Making the profit, or maybe it is for some social cause also, but eventually it is all about making a profit whenever you're talking about entrepreneurship. Now, how do you make that profit? By developing, organizing, or running a business, by taking risks, by starting something which is not discovered till now, or maybe by starting something which is actually solving a problem in the world. There can be several reasons behind it, how you actually solve a problem, but once a problem is solved, you are eventually going to make a profit out of it. And that's all entrepreneurship is all about. Now, entrepreneurship is not just about starting a new business. It is also about, actually, it is mostly about innovation, taking risks, and seeing problems as opportunities. Whenever there is a problem, an entrepreneur, that's actually one of the major characteristics of entrepreneurs, that they never see problems as problems. They see problems as opportunities. That what can we do to solve this problem? How it can help people? How I can make money out of it? Those are certain areas which are very, very important, very, very crucial when we talk about entrepreneurship. So in general, you just need to keep in mind that entrepreneurship is all about developing, organizing, and running a business which is completely new, and eventually it's about solving a problem, and you are making a profit out of it by taking risks, by taking initiatives. It's all about innovation. That is extremely important when we talk about entrepreneurship. Now, what is the role of management in the field of entrepreneurship? So what is entrepreneurial management? Entrepreneurial management is the discipline of providing the innovation inherent in entrepreneurship a more robust management structure. Just imagine the situation. You have started a new venture. Everything is going perfectly fine. But eventually, it is also very, very important that when your business is growing, you have to manage certain things as well. Maybe it's the human resources, maybe the other resources, maybe the financial resources. Because when a business is growing, there will be need of maybe hiring more people. There will be need of maybe more funding. So all of those things has to be managed. Starting a business requires innovation, requires taking risks abilities, requires maybe taking initiatives. But once that part is done, then comes the role of management. So management is equally important, just like innovation or just like taking risks, whenever we are talking about entrepreneurship. Because if you have started your business with your innovative mind, but again you cannot manage it, then eventually it is not going to help anyone. So we have to make sure as an entrepreneur that we put this word management into the field of entrepreneurship, and eventually that entire entrepreneurial journey is managed as well. All the resources in it are managed as well. So that is extremely important. Managing a new business necessitates a different set of tools and concepts than managing an existing business. That is also extremely important. Now, why entrepreneurial management is completely different from the regular field of management when we talk about general management, how it is different from that? Because when we talk about general management, it's about managing the things where business is already existing. There is always something which is already established. But when we are talking about entrepreneurship, then there's nothing which is established as of now. We are going to establish. There's a new venture that we are going to start. Now, how do you manage certain things in that particular scenario? That is entrepreneurial management. So it necessitates a different set of rules, definitely, different set of tools and techniques and concepts in order to manage certain things which is not equal to existing business. So that's extremely important. Then you can manage a growing firm while keeping a startup's originality and enthusiasm alive through entrepreneurial management. When we say that you have to manage things even when you're talking about entrepreneurship, that does not mean that it's about, losing the originality or enthusiasm. There's nothing like that. You can keep the originality alive, you can keep the enthusiasm alive, and along with that, you can manage certain things, all the resources, in order to make sure that each and every process in that particular new venture is free, is smooth, is efficient, and is effective. All right. So now that we have understood that what exactly is entrepreneurship and what is entrepreneurial management and what is the role of management in that entire field of starting a new venture, now it is time for us to clear certain confusions between terms such as entrepreneur versus manager. So in this particular module, I am going to tell you that how an entrepreneur is actually different from a manager. What is the role of a manager when we are talking about any organization, and what is the role of an entrepreneur in that organization? So that is something we will be exploring, and we will be differentiating between these two terms in this particular module. So as you can see on the screen, if you look at manager side, that a manager is basically an employee of the business, but an entrepreneur is actually an owner of the business. So entrepreneur is that person who's starting the new venture. He is that person who has taken the risks. He is that person who has, done all the innovation. He is the one who's trying to solve the problem and is the owner of the business. But when we talk about a manager, he's just managing the things. It's not about taking a lot of risks. It is not about, it is about creativity and innovation, definitely, especially when we talk about, managing human resources, financial resources, or any other resources of company. But in general, the amount of innovation which is required in starting a business will always be more than which is required in managing people or managing the other resources for any organization when we are starting a new venture. So a manager is definitely an employee of the business, but an entrepreneur is actually an owner of the business. That is one major point. Then a manager focuses on managing the daily operations. It's about making or improving the processes better. It's about making sure that all the processes, all the projects that are part of that business are efficient, are effective, are running smoothly. But that is not the case in entrepreneurship. It's not about daily operations or making the processes, improved, better. It is about focusing on setting up a business. It's about that innovation, how you can, make things better for the customer's point of view, how you can make things better from the employee's point of view. It's about searching for those things, researching for those things, and, using your innovative mind in that particular direction. It is never about daily operations. Eventually, when your business starts growing, it becomes about daily operations and about managing the regular things as well. But when we are starting a new business, a new venture, then it is not about managing the daily operations. At that particular point of time, it is all about focusing on setting up the business, using the right innovation, using the right kind of people in order to make sure that whatever problem we are trying to solve through this new venture, that is eventually and actually solved. So that is the main aim when we talk about entrepreneurs. Now, when we talk about managers, so a manager in general is a person who gets things done in order to accomplish the business goals effectively and efficiently. Whenever we are talking about any business, there is always some vision, some mission, some goals of the business that we are supposed to reach. Now, how will you reach those goals, those objectives more efficiently and more effectively? That is the role of a manager. A manager will manage all the things, all the resources in order to make sure that all the processes, all the projects are running smoothly and things are achieved, objectives are achieved very efficiently and very effectively. But when we talk about entrepreneurs, an entrepreneur is a person who starts a new business and bears most of the risks while reaping the majority of the benefits. So risks are more when we are talking about entrepreneurs. but so are the benefits. Because definitely, if you can set up a business, then eventually it is going to grow. If you can manage things later on, and you can manage people, manage the resources of the company, you can make sure that each and everything is running smoothly, efficiently, effectively. So that's what entrepreneurship is all about. So if you want me to just draw a clear differentiation between managers and entrepreneurs, that's very, very simple. When we talk about management part, when we talk about managers, it's more about managing things, managing the resources in order to improve the processes, in order to improve the projects, to make sure that each and everything is achieved. The objectives of the business, the vision or the mission of the business is achieved more efficiently and more effectively. But when we talk about entrepreneurs, it's not about managing the daily operations or managing the general things. It's about innovation. It's about taking more risks. It's about setting up a new business. And when you set up a new business, there's definitely going to be a point of time when your business is growing that you'll have to manage things also. But when we are talking about the entrepreneurship phase, that is phase one, when you are setting up a business, it's more about innovation and taking risks and less about managing things. Because once your business is set up, then you can manage things. So right now, all you need to care about is innovation, that how you can solve a business problem, how you can solve a problem for people and make your business actually work. You can eventually set up that business. So that's all entrepreneurship is about. Now, there's a small note as well, which is extremely important, that although the terms entrepreneur and management may sound similar, they are not interchangeable in their function. You cannot say that a manager is an entrepreneur. Definitely, management is a part of entrepreneurship as well, and there's a very important role of management when we are talking about entrepreneurship. But management is not completely interchangeable with entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is something different. Some part of management will always be there in entrepreneurship, and some part of that innovation, that taking risks abilities will always be there in management. But these two terms are actually different and cannot be used interchangeably. So that's very important to understand. Now, all right, so you have understood that what exactly is the difference between entrepreneurs and managers. Now, it is time for us to clear this one more confusion, that what is the difference between entrepreneur and businessman. So that is something we will be exploring in this particular module. So as you can see on the screen, an entrepreneur is a person who has a unique concept for starting and running a new business and making a difference in the world. The key word here is new business, new concept. When you talk about a businessman, so businessman is someone who runs or establishes a company using the same old business idea. You already know that there's a problem in the world. Now, if you know that the solution for that problem already exists, but still you try to, set up your business in that particular domain, that will not be entrepreneurship, that will be business. That will be your aspect of being a businessman and not an entrepreneur. When you talk about entrepreneurship, it's about a unique concept and solving a unique problem that exists in the world. Maybe it's a social cause, maybe it's some other cause, maybe you want to make profit through something which is extremely unique, which has never been done before. Maybe the way you want to solve a problem is completely different and is completely unique. That is what entrepreneurship is all about. So when you talk about business, it's about going with the traditional way and same old business concepts. But when you talk about entrepreneurship, it's about running a new business with some new concepts, with some unique concepts. And it's about making the difference in the world. So that's a very clear difference between entrepreneurs and businessmen. The next point is that an entrepreneur is a person who is very creative and innovative and willing to take risks and deal with the unpredictability of business. Definitely, when you're going to start something which is completely new, when you're going to start something which is never actually done before, you're trying to solve a unique problem, then definitely it is going to require a lot of innovation, a lot of willing to take risks. Risks are very, very important when we are talking about entrepreneurships, because if you won't take risks, definitely you will not be at a stage where you will be able to set up a new business, a new venture. But when you talk about businessman, it is completely different. The businessman chooses to pursue a business that is in high demand or that will provide him with the most profit. So it's not about taking a lot of risks. Definitely risks will be involved even when we talk about entrepreneurship, even when we talk about businessman. But the amount of risk that is taken in doing something which is unique is much more than the amount of risk which is actually taken in setting up a business with the same old concept, with the same traditional way. So that's what is something which makes businessman different from an entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneurs, they basically follow unconventional procedures. They don't have any, some kind of principles written and they are not going to follow it. There is no traditional way that they are going to follow. But when you talk about businessmen, they follow traditional procedures. Then entrepreneurs, they are market leaders. Businessmen, they are market players because they lead the market. They solve the problems which are unique in the world. But businessmen, they see some existing problem. They feel that they can make a benefit out of it. They can make profit out of it, and they use it to actually make profit. It also, requires a lot of management and a lot of other aspects. But in general, it's not about leading the market. It's about playing with the market, finding the right place, choosing that place, and actually fitting into it. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurs, the risk factor is generally very, very high. You're starting up a new business. You're trying to solve a new problem which has never been solved before. It's all about innovation. When you use the word innovation, there will definitely be a lot of risk which is involved with that. You never know how it is going to turn out, how the customers are going to react, how the major target market for that particular product or maybe for that particular service is going to react. All you know is that you have to set up a business, you have an idea, and you have the vision for that. But when you talk about businessmen, the risk factor is comparatively very, very less. Definitely in that also, there's some amount of risk. You are again starting up a new business. It's just that the concept is old. The way you are following is very, very traditional. The procedures you are going to follow will be traditional, will be old concepts based. But eventually, you will have to take a risk in order to start a business. If you are using innovation, the risk factor will be much high. That is the case for entrepreneurs. But if you're using the same old concept, then definitely the risk factor will be a little less. All right. So now that we have got a clear idea about what exactly is entrepreneurship, what is entrepreneurial management, what is the difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman or maybe a manager. Now I think the basic idea is clear. Now it is time for us to understand the beautiful journey of an entrepreneur. When you want to become an entrepreneur or you actually become an entrepreneur, how this cycle works, how this journey works. That is something we will be exploring in this particular module. So there are basically 3 steps in that. First of all, you are an entrepreneur. And then, as I already told you, as your business starts growing, there is a need of applying that word management into the entrepreneurship. That is nothing but your entrepreneurial manager. You become an entrepreneurial manager from entrepreneur. And then eventually you become a manager. I'll tell you how that actually works. So initially your business is in a startup phase. You have started a new venture. You are trying to solve a new problem. So it requires risk-taking abilities. It requires innovation. So that's the part which entrepreneur will play. Now, once your business starts growing, you have done everything. Your business is set up. Now your business is growing. You need to maybe hire more people. You need more resources to fulfill the needs of the customers, to fulfill the needs of the expectations of the stakeholders, shareholders. Now that becomes very, very important. So that's the growing phase of the business. And at that particular stage, rather than using your innovation or innovative mind, you will have to start applying the management principles as well. Because if in this growing phase, you cannot manage things, you are just using the innovation part, you are not going to sustain. Because definitely innovation is required, but to start the business. But to sustain the business, innovation is important, but management is equally important. So this is the phase where management will start mixing into this innovation part, and you will be more like an entrepreneurial manager. Then when the business is actually, is growing and it is going extremely well. So it's a large scale business growth right now that we are talking about. Then it will be completely management, because now you cannot make major changes. Let's say you have developed a product or maybe you have developed a service. Now it will not be more about, retweaking those products or maybe retweaking those services. It will be more about managing the things, hiring more people, or maybe, making best use of the resources, utilizing the resources to the best, making sure that we are optimizing all the processes, making sure that the processes in general are running very smoothly, effectively, efficiently. So that effectiveness, efficient, those are the certain things that we'll have to pay more attention on right now when the business is actually growing on a large scale. So that's the basic journey of an entrepreneur. First, you are an entrepreneur where you use the innovation, risk taking abilities. When the business starts growing, there's a need of applying that management part. So it will be entrepreneurial management, or you'll become an entrepreneurial manager. And once the business has started growing, it's large scale that we are talking about, then eventually it will be about just managing the things. Innovation part is done. It'll be a little bit of just retweaking that we need to do with the product, with the services, with the projects, with the processes. But eventually it will be more prominent that management is required now and not the innovation part. So that's the general journey which goes for a particular entrepreneur. But again, it is not something which can be fixed. It always depends. Because as I already mentioned, that entrepreneurship is not about a fixed mindset. It's about a growth mindset. So you never know what can actually turn up. You try something different and there can be something different kind of output from that is never actually seen before. So those cases, those kind of exceptional cases will always be there. But in general, this is the basic journey that is actually followed when we talk about the journey of an entrepreneur. So now let's just talk about these three terms: entrepreneur, entrepreneurial manager, and a manager in a little bit more detail. So when you talk about entrepreneur, entrepreneurs are risk takers and are change stimulators. They want to change the world. They want to change something. They want to solve a business problem that is existing, that is unique to them. At this stage, they don't have the time to formalize things and lay out all of the following steps they'll need to take. Right now, they just take care of hiring the right people and just set up the business somehow. They just want to solve that problem. They want to use their innovation to the best. That's the phase we are talking about when you are setting up a business. You do not care about how will you plan, and you care about the vision of the company. You care about the mission of the company, that what actually you want to achieve. That will always be there at the back of your mind. But eventually you will not have a very clear plan for that. The main idea will be that let's use the innovation and let's try to achieve this goal. It will not be how to achieve this goal. That how part is done when your business starts growing, which is the second phase, entrepreneurial manager. This is the point at which the startup stage ends and the business begins to grow rapidly. We need more people to do the work. The customer demands are changing. The customer needs are changing. According to that, we have to change as a business. Things are changing in general. Things are impacting. We need change management. We need human resource management. We need financial management. We need asset management. All the kind of things are required. So this is the phase where we'll have to actually mix up management and entrepreneurship, where we'll have to mix up management and innovation part. And that's what an entrepreneurial manager will actually do. So entrepreneurs will require specific managerial skills at this stage of business development. Now, third phase is when your business is actually growing rapidly, everything is going fine, it's on large scale that we are talking about. Then comes the role of a manager. So the growth of the business cannot be controlled only as an entrepreneur at this level. You can't just use the innovation part and sustain in the business, sustain in the market or in the industry. You need to manage things now, because you have the right set of people to do the right set of things. But will they be able to do it effectively? Will they be able to do it effectively and efficiently? Will they be able to, run all these processes smoothly? That is something which becomes very, very important when your business is growing at a large scale. So there comes the need of a manager more than an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial manager. So the growth of the business cannot be controlled only as an entrepreneur at this level, although the value of innovation is not diminished. The innovation is still there, it is not diminished, but the management aspect becomes more prominent at this stage. More than using and solving the business problem at this stage, it is about managing things so that whatever business problem you are eventually trying to solve, that becomes effective and the processes run smoothly. So that's the third phase, which is the extreme phase when your business is actually growing and we are talking about the large scale. So that's how this entire journey of an entrepreneur works. So now let's move forward and try to understand more about steps in entrepreneurial process. We have understood how the journey works, how an entrepreneur actually moves from that innovation part to that management part. All of that is clear. Now, what are the steps involved in this? So let's try to understand all those different steps. So there are 6 steps that I have mentioned over here. Step 1 is if you actually want to start a new venture, how this entire process is going to work. Step 1, making the decision to become an entrepreneur. First thing is making the right decision of becoming an entrepreneur. Once you have decided that, then only we can move forward. You have all the plan, plotting, everything that will be done once the decision is done. So that the first step that need to start something, to start somewhere, that is extremely important. That's the very first step of this entire entrepreneurial process. Then second step is identifying and assessing the potential opportunities. Okay, you have decided that you want to start a new venture, you want to start a new business, you want to solve a problem, but what problem will you solve? What is there for you to identify, what is there for you to evaluate, what are the potential opportunities that you have? Maybe right now there's something happening in the world which is not going in the right direction according to you, and you feel that there's a need, there's some kind of opportunity there for you, and you can solve that problem. Maybe there's a social cause, maybe there's some other cause, maybe it is something which is personal to you, and you want to see that how you can actually make money out of it, how you can solve problems in the world with that one personal thing as well. So all these aspects are there, it's a mix of all these things, but then identifying and evaluating those potential opportunities is the second step. Because before starting the business, you should know what is the business is for, right? And to see that, identifying, evaluating, assessing the potential opportunities, whatever exists in the world right now, whatever is bothering people right now, and how you can solve it, that becomes a major part of it. So that's the second step. Then third step is putting together a business plan. Now you have decided that this is the opportunity for you, and you are going to grab this opportunity. You are going to see this problem as an opportunity. You are going to grab it, and you are going to solve this problem somehow. You have a vision now, you have a mission now. But what's your business plan? You have an objective, but how will you all put it together? So that's the third step, which is putting together a business plan. You have an objective, you have set the desired position, but how will you reach there? Just like I have put a picture also, you have a plan, there's a bulb, there's an idea there. You want to reach there, but how? There are steps that need to be built. So that is the third step. You need to have a business plan now. Once that is done, then identifying the resources needed. What are the resources that you will need to reach to that particular desired position, that level where you want to reach at? You want to solve a particular problem. You have decided that. You have a business plan for it. But how will you do it? What are the resources which will be required? Maybe funding part, maybe the human resources, the right set of people who will be able to help you in achieving that particular goal. So all those aspects, the human resources, the financial aspect, the other aspects in general, those becomes very, very important, that what are the resources which are required. So you need to identify that in your fourth step. Once that is done, then turning the idea into the business. Till now, it is just an idea. You have a desired position, you have a business plan for it, you have decided what are the resources required to reach to that business plan. But now it's time for you to convert that entire idea into the business. How will you make profit out of it? How it is going to help people in general? So those are certain questions, those WH questions will be asked in this particular phase. Then managing and expanding the business is the last step. Once the business is set up, once you have turned your idea into business, it's about expanding the business now. How will you, there comes the role of management actually. So till now, when we were talking about setting up the business, converting the idea into the business, it was more about entrepreneurship, it was more about innovation, it was more about taking risks, starting a new venture. Once that is done, then comes the role of management. As I already told you, that the journey of an entrepreneur moves from an entrepreneur to entrepreneurial manager to manager. So the management aspect start coming into the picture when the business is growing. On a small scale, on a large scale, that's entirely different picture. But once your business is growing, you have turned the idea into the business, you're making profit out of it, it's growing. Then it is time for you to actually think about expanding it, actually think about growing it by managing things, by making processes better, by improving processes, by applying business project management, by applying business process management. All those other aspects come into the picture when your business is actually expanding. So that's the last step. So these are 6 major steps when you talk about any entrepreneurial process. Let's try to understand what are the different types of entrepreneurship. So there are four types that we are going to discuss over here. First is social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is about identifying and resourcefully pursuing potential opportunities to create social impact. You want to create a social impact. Maybe you want to improve something in the area of education. Maybe you have something to do with poverty. You want to solve that problem. It has some social cause related to it. So that's about social entrepreneurship. The main goal of these businesses is to make the world a better place by solving that social problem. Maybe it's about something where maybe the people are feeling diminished because of something, maybe because of education, maybe because of money issues, maybe because of some other financial aspects, maybe some other aspects in general. So you have to find that social cause and you have to work for it. But does that mean it's completely not about profit? No, that is not the case. However, for most, the ultimate objective is to make money. There are so many examples for so many companies where the main idea of that organization is actually to solve a problem. Let's just talk about edtech organizations, educational technology companies. A lot of these companies will have this idea of solving a business problem, of solving a problem where people cannot educate themselves. But eventually, do these companies try to make money as well? Yes, they do. There's a need for profit also, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about, as we have seen in the definition. So the main objective is to make money for most of these organizations, but there's one more need here, that is to make this world a better place by solving a business problem, by solving a social cause in this particular scenario. So that's social entrepreneurship. Now let's talk about big business entrepreneurship. So large organizations can offer new items that are versions of their core products by continuing to innovate. As I have shown you as well, that when we talk about the journey of an entrepreneur, first there's an entrepreneur, the entrepreneurship, the innovation aspect is more. But when you eventually grow as a company, as an organization, then comes the role of a manager. But that does not mean that the power of innovation will be diminished. The power of innovation is going to be same. You will still be innovating, you will still be looking at the problems in such a way that you look at them as potential opportunities and you try to solve them. You see how you can align the current organizational goals with the existing business problems and how you can actually try to solve that. So when you talk about a big business entrepreneurship, large organizations can offer new items that are versions of their core products or maybe services by continuing to innovate. So that innovation will always be there to suit changing customer needs and modern technology. Customer demands are changing every day, especially in today's world when we are talking about so many things, and when the world is changing at a very very fast pace. So customer demands are changing, in general things are changing. So the business, the product, the services will also have to change according to that. Companies frequently do this by partnering with other innovative businesses. So that is very very important to understand. So most of the businesses, they will not go on a very large scale on their own. They will generally, most of the times, they will acquire other companies, or they'll frequently do it, by partnering with other innovative companies in the same industry, in the same field, from which they can also get benefit and the other company can also get benefit. For example, large companies such as Google, Microsoft, etc. Those will all be examples of a big business entrepreneurship. Now moving forward, next one is small business entrepreneurship. As the name suggests, these businesses are typically barely profitable. There's not much profit in this, but definitely there's some profit because eventually it's entrepreneurship. The main goal of such businesses is to make a living and support families. Family members or friends generally fund these businesses. So it's not like you have to manage a lot of financial aspects and you have to go and find for funding or anything. Mostly these are the friends or the families who will fund, and the main goal over here is to actually feed your family, to make sure that each and everything is going smooth in your family. And to do that, you start something on a very small level. The profit is not much, but again there's some kind of profit with which you can actually support your family or maybe your friends. Now the example here can be hairdressers, grocery stores, local restaurants. So these are all examples of small business entrepreneurship where the profit will not be typically very very high. But eventually these kind of people, when they start such kind of ventures, such new ventures, it's mostly about just supporting their family, and their family and friends are going to be the one who are actually going to fund these businesses as well. So that's the major aspect about it. Now the fourth one is scalable startup business entrepreneurship. So this sort of business begins with a unique idea that has the potential to change the world. Scalable startup entrepreneurship recognizes a gap in market and develops a solution. You know that there's a problem that needs to be solved in the business right now, in the world right now. People are actually facing this issue. How you can use your innovative mind and how you can solve that problem. That is about scalable startup business entrepreneurship. From creating a business plan to actually launching it and eventually to expand it to grow it. All of that will be part of scalable startup business entrepreneurship. So just you need to understand that it's all about the unique idea here and filling up that gap between the market, the needs, the specified needs that the world has, and creating a plan for it and to solve that problem. So that's the four major entrepreneurship types that we have. Let's just talk about entrepreneurship styles. So what are the different styles that entrepreneurs will have? As I was already telling you, it's not about, there will be only one specified direction that the entrepreneurs will move at. It always depends. There are always exceptions, and there are different styles that different entrepreneurs will actually follow. Or maybe they will not follow any prescribed path. They will just directly go on their own path. They'll try to figure out something which is unique, which is new, which is innovative. And that's the main aim when we are talking about entrepreneurship. But again, there are certain styles which are very common when we talk about the world of entrepreneurship. So let's try to discuss all those different styles. So entrepreneurial style refers to the process of translating an idea or innovation into a viable business. When we were discussing about the steps of entrepreneurial journey or entrepreneurial process as well, I made it very clear that the last step is to convert that idea into a business. You have a business plan, everything is perfect, that is all right. But we eventually have to convert that idea into the business, how it is going to solve the problem, how it is going to help you in making the profit, how it is going to create that impact that you want to create. All those WH questions are very important. So when we say entrepreneurial style, it always refers to the process of translating that idea into the business, into a viable business, a profitable business. So there are different styles of entrepreneurs that can be there. One is innovators. That's mostly in it's not like, one type of entrepreneur will only be innovator, will only be a manager type. It's generally a mix of it. 80% of innovators, 20% of managers, or maybe 30% of this or 40% of that. It's generally a mix of certain things. It's never completely the same. But again, these are the major types that we actually should keep in our mind when we are talking about entrepreneurial manager. So when we talk about innovators, they have the power to reshape the entire industry with their innovative ideas. So when you talk about this particular style of entrepreneurship, it's all about reshaping, or it's all about solving the problem with innovation. So innovation is the keyword here when you're talking about this particular style. Then second style, managers. They recognize the value of assembling and cultivating a strong team of employees and providing them with the tools and resources they need to thrive. So there will be one kind of person, they'll think that with innovation, we'll actually achieve the goal. And they are right. Their way of doing it is different. That's one style. But there will be second kind of people who will always make management part also very prominent along with innovation. That is one more style. They feel that we should have a strong team. We should have the right set of people to do the right set of things. We have to make processes more efficient. We have to make processes, projects more effective. So there comes the role of manager's type or manager's style when we are talking about the entrepreneurship. Then there are opportunists. Opportunistic entrepreneurship is about entering an industry or business at a decent time and having a high chance of success. Now, how does that work? It's about seeing problems as opportunities, basically. You know that, okay, this is something which is happening in the world right now, and this is affecting this kind of problems. How you can solve it at the right time, at a decent time, to actually make profit out of it. So those are the people who are opportunists. Those are the entrepreneurs who follow this opportunist style, basically. So they see problems as opportunities. they find the right time to enter the business world. They enter and they actually make profit out of it. Why? Innovation is not the center point here. Management is not the center point here. The center point here is that they took that opportunity of entering the business world at the right time. That is also very, very important. Then revolutionaries. They are focused on making worldwide changes by addressing the major issues with their strong vision. So when you talk about revolution, it's all about changing the mindset. It's all about changing the world. You want to make a difference in the world. You want to solve certain major issues which are never being solved. Maybe that's your mindset, that you have the growth mindset that you have, that you want to actually solve those problems. Or maybe it's actually about bringing a revolution in some kind of field, maybe in the field of education, maybe in some other industry, maybe in the field of e-commerce. You want to bring that revolution, and with that mindset, you actually start this business, you start this new venture. So that particular style will be revolutionary. Now, when you talk about these 4 styles, as I already mentioned, it will never be like one type of entrepreneur, he's completely innovator and there's no role of manager that he's playing. This will never be this explicit or this blunt. It will always be a mixture of 2-3 things, and maybe more than these 4 types, these 4 styles as well. There will be certain things. Maybe one entrepreneur is very, very innovative, but at the same time, the management part is also very, very prominent. And at the same time, he looks at problems in the form of opportunities. So that part is also mixed. And maybe he wants to solve a major issue as well. So maybe all these 4 styles can be mixed into ones. So these things will always be there. It'll always depend upon the innovator, the actual entrepreneur, how he sees the problems and how he actually wants to approach that with his own or her own business plan. So it always depends upon a lot of factors, but eventually it comes down to 3 or 4 major styles that we have, that is innovators, managers, opportunists, and revolutionaries. Let's just talk about the characteristics of entrepreneurship. So we had discussed a lot about entrepreneurial management and how things actually work, how the processes works, how the journey moves from an entrepreneurship level to a manager level. But eventually, what are the different characteristics that entrepreneurs will have? If you want to become an entrepreneur, what are the major things that you should actually have? Now, that is something we will be exploring over here. Not all entrepreneurs succeed. Specific characteristics distinguish successful entrepreneurs. You should know one thing before that principles will never give rise to art. Art will give rise to principles. So first of all, you'll do something and after that we will make principles out of it. It's never vice versa. So we can never actually decide this thing that these are the characteristics of entrepreneurs, and if you'll have it, you will also be successful. We can never say that because it is very, very subjective. First of all, you do something, and if that turns out to be right, then we make principles out of it. So that is something I am actually doing over here. So we have seen a lot of people, we have done a lot of research, and we actually understand that how there are certain characteristics, there are certain abilities that some entrepreneurs will have, and that actually make them different, that actually help them in growing the venture that they actually wanted to grow. So one of those abilities is ability to take risks. Because definitely when you are starting a new business, it involves taking very high amount of risk. Why? Because you are starting something which is unique. You do not know, you have never seen somebody doing something like that. So you have no idea about it. But still you are going about it, still you want to explore that field. That requires taking a lot of risk and ability to take a lot of risk. So that is something which is very, very important. That is one important characteristic. Then innovation. Innovation is actually at the center of entrepreneurship. If you have everything, but you do not have a innovative mind, you do not know how to put things into the right place in order to make sure that one objective that you want to solve, that one business problem is actually solved. That requires a lot of innovation in terms of setting up the new venture, in terms of managing things, and then in terms of expanding that. So in all those aspects and at each and every stage, innovation is important. So that is one thing which is again very, very important, that innovation part, that creativity part. Then visionary qualities. When we say visionary qualities, there should be some goal. Even if you do not have the business plan ready, you do not know how you want to achieve that. But in long term, you know that what you actually want to do. What is the one business problem that you want to solve? or what are the so many those business problems that you want to cultivate in this one thing and you want to solve it. What is the main idea? What is the main goal? That is something which is extremely important. So having that visionary mind, that okay, this is something that I want in the long run, that is extremely important when you talk about entrepreneurship, when we talk about the characteristic of an entrepreneur. So that is one important characteristic. Then open mindedness. An entrepreneur, because when you talk about innovation, when you talk about solving a business problem, if you'll have a narrow mind, you will never be able to look at problems in terms of opportunities. But since as an entrepreneur you have to do that, you have to look at problems and you have to see how you can make money out of it, how you can solve a problem out of it, how you can actually help people with that, how you can benefit society with that. All these WH questions, that is extremely important. So how open minded you are in terms of just helping people, in terms of helping yourself by making profit, in terms of growing your business. So that open mindedness is again one very important characteristic of an entrepreneur. Then flexibility to change. You never know how things are going to turn out. You never know once you start the new venture how it is actually going to be taken by the customers. You have no idea about it. This is something unique for you as somebody who's providing the opportunity, and for people who are actually grabbing this opportunity as well. So as the business grows, we figure out there will always be change, sometimes in the internal environment, sometimes in the external environment. But how you take it, how flexible you are you actually going to adapt to that change, or with that change is going to help you grow, or that change is going to be an obstacle for you. So that is something an entrepreneur will actually always have to decide. And if they choose to adapt with that change, they choose to be flexible with that change, then the business is actually going to grow, then it is going to be successful. Then the last step is understanding of product offerings. What exactly is your clarity level when you are talking about offering a product or a service? That okay, this is one problem that I want to solve for this particular business, but how? What is the product? What eventually will it turn out to be? Having that mission, having that vision in your mind, that is also one characteristic which is extremely important. To summarize it all, in general, the innovation is at center of it. There should be an ability to take risks. There should be a visionary mind. You should know what exactly is your end goal, where you want to reach, what is the desired position, even if you do not have a business plan for that, even if you do not know what are the steps that you're supposed to take. But at the beginning of the stage, when you're setting up a business, you should have a clear idea about what is the product that you want to offer and where you want to reach. What is your in general direction in order to reach to that desired position? And then flexibility to change and open-mindedness. How open is your mind to see problems in terms of opportunities, and then have an innovative mind to actually solve those problems. So that is something which is extremely important. Let's try to understand that how do entrepreneurs benefit society. So when you talk about benefiting society, or when you talk about in general that what is the role of entrepreneurship when you're talking about society, is there any specific problem that entrepreneurs can actually solve? Or is there anything specific that it is actually going to help in a particular direction? Those are certain areas which becomes very, very important. And it may be a surprise for you, but actually entrepreneurs help society in so many different ways. They help other businesses, the existing businesses also, in so many different ways. How? Let's explore this in this particular module. So how do entrepreneurs benefit society? Point number one is the success of the goods and services created by entrepreneurs spreads to new enterprises and marketplaces. So if you have started a new venture and that has become a success, then the success of the goods and services that are created by you as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, that is going to spread to the new enterprises, to new businesses, to new marketplaces as well. You must have seen that. So whenever there's a unique idea, once you have started that unique idea, after that so many people are actually going to follow that. So many other innovative minds will just do a little bit of retweaking with that idea, and they will also use it, and they will solve so many other business problems. Maybe you could not think of it and they have grabbed that opportunities, but the main idea was because of you as an entrepreneur. You started something, and that started giving ideas to other people, to other businessmen, to other entrepreneurs, to other innovative minds. So it is definitely going to help other enterprises and other marketplaces. So that is one major thing which is in terms of benefiting society, how entrepreneurs play their role. then entrepreneurs usually seek for new markets and customers that aren't served by established businesses. As I was already telling you, when you are talking about entrepreneurship, it's not about going with the traditional way. It's about solving a new problem, solving a problem which is extremely, new for people as well. Even people do not know how to find a solution to a particular problem. But innovators, the entrepreneurs, are going to use their innovative mind. They are going to see this problem as an opportunity and they are going to solve it. So the set of customers that they will have, maybe those customers are not actually covered by any existing business, any established marketplace, and they will be the first one who are actually going to solve their problems. So those set of people, their problems are going to be solved with the help of those innovative ideas that those entrepreneurs will have. So that is actually going to help. That is one way of, again, which will benefit the society. Then entrepreneurs innovative goods and services lessen reliance on obsolete processes and technologies. Maybe there are certain processes, certain technologies that people are following which are extremely outdated and are not actually helping people. Maybe entrepreneurs can come up with certain which are extremely innovative in terms of technology, in terms of management, in terms of just coming up with the idea, in terms of solving problems. And it can actually lessen reliance on those outdated technologies, those outdated tools, and those outdated processes. So that's also one way in which you can actually benefit society being an entrepreneur. Now, the last point is that being an entrepreneur, you can cultivate a sense of belonging among people who share similar goals and interests. So that will always be there. You have an innovative mind, you have solved a business problem, that is definitely going to create and cultivate a sense of belongingness, not just among people who are trying to start a new venture, but also among people who are actually going to be on the customer end. They will also feel that, okay, this is something, this was the issue that was faced by us as customers, as people, and that is actually solved with the help of these innovative ideas, with the help of these new technologies, with the help of these new processes. So that's all entrepreneurship is all about, and it definitely helps the business world, the other enterprises, people in general, because they can target some new people. Their problems are not being solved yet. A new entrepreneur can come and they can solve the problem, and eventually they actually benefit the society, they help the society too. Again, there can be so many exceptions in that as well. Maybe there will be certain organizations, they are completely focused on making the profit. There will be certain organizations, they will more focus on their vision, that this is something that they want to achieve and profit is secondary to them. So again, these things will always be there into the picture, but the main idea is that do entrepreneurs benefit society? Yes, they do, by using their innovative minds, by solving the problems that the world is actually facing, that the people are actually facing, by creating, by cultivating a sense of belongingness. So that is very, very important to understand. Now it is time for us to actually understand, what is the need for entrepreneurial management. We have understood the journey of an entrepreneur and everything is clear that there's innovation, there's management, all those aspects we have understood. But why, when we are talking about entrepreneurship, where do we fit this word management into that? What is the role of entrepreneurial management? What is the need of it? What is the importance of it? That is something we will be exploring in this particular module. So as you can see, that what is the need for entrepreneurial management? First thing, small business is rapidly expanding. So that is one indicator basically. So if this thing is happening with your business, then definitely there's a need for entrepreneurial management. Then employees are being added to the organization. That is one more indicator that if there are more and more employees, there are more and more hirings that are happening for your organization. That means you need more people to do the work now. And if you need more people to do the work, that means more work is being actually done. And if more work is being done, then you need to manage the processes. You need to see how you can make things efficient, how you can make things effective. And how will that be done? With the help of management in that entrepreneurship environment. In that world where we are only thinking about innovation, we'll have to manage certain things, people, resources, each and everything to make sure that everything is running smoothly. So that is extremely important. That is one indicator. Then the company requires a well-functioning control system. There's a time when your business is growing, you will actually feel that there's some need of controlling processes. There's some need of, well-functioning control system. You need to see maybe control on quality, maybe control on other things, maybe you just need to oversee things, you just need to manage things. So all those aspects come into the picture. And that is also one indicator that now it is time for you to actually start managing things, focus less on innovation. That should not be diminished, but along with innovation, we have to be equally good with the management part as well, and we have to start making it a little more prominent. So these are some indicators that are mentioned over here. If any of these things happen in any organization, for any business, for any new venture that you have started, that means now it is time for you to focus less on solving the problem and more on sustaining the business, because you have set up a business which is growing, people are adding to your organization, work is being done. Now how will you make processes easier, more smooth? That is the main focus area, as we have already discussed too. Now the last point is there's a requirement of specified guidelines. Maybe you want to meet the shareholders expectations, maybe you want to make sure that customer needs are met, maybe you want to make sure that whatever specified objectives you have for your organization, those are being met. So if you feel that there's a need of this organization, there's a need of this well-functioning control system, then definitely you should start thinking about management part, and you should start making it more prominent along with the innovation part. So these are certain indicators. If you see any of these things happening in your organization, in your business as an entrepreneur, definitely think less about the innovation part. That means your business is set up, people are liking the product or the service, business is growing. Now it is time for you to actually put the management part into it, and then eventually making it more and more prominent in order to sustain the business in the market. Let's try to understand what are the benefits of entrepreneurial management plan. As we were discussing also that, okay, you have decided to manage things now, but what is the benefit of having a plan for that? You have plotted everything, you have planned everything. How can it benefit the entire management process in growing the business, in managing or expanding the business? That is something we will be exploring here. So point number one is that you outline the goals you wish to attain with your startup with an entrepreneurial management plan. If you don't have a plan, you are lost. If you have a plan, you have an outline, you have a direction. You know what is the desired position where you are supposed to reach. So that is very, very important, because as we have discussed, one very important characteristic of an entrepreneur is that they have this ability to be visionary. They can think about things, they have a mission, they have a vision. There's a problem that they want to solve. So that becomes very, very important. So in order to have the desired position, that outline, it is very, very important that you have an entrepreneurial management plan. Then second point is that with an entrepreneurial management plan, it becomes easier to accomplish goals as everyone coordinates their actions. Because if you will not have a plan, then people will actually be a little lost. They will have no clear idea what is the next step that they are supposed to take. But if you have a management plan, then definitely people will know what they are supposed to do, how the planning is going to work, and their actions will be more coordinated, and eventually the output will be much better. The processes will be more efficient. So that's the benefit again of having an entrepreneurial management plan. Then it is good to have an entrepreneurial management plan for efficient resource management. We have seen that when you are actually going for this journey of entrepreneur or being an entrepreneur, one important thing is identifying and evaluating the resources. That too, in order to reach at this particular desired position, you need these resources. But who will manage those resources in order to make sure that everything is optimized and the resource management is efficient and effective? Now that is also done with the help of an entrepreneurial management plan. So that is one more benefit. Then desired outcomes and performance standards can be defined in an entrepreneurial management plan. So what is the position where you want to reach at? What is the main goal? What are the problems that you want to solve? All those things, general bits, will also be a part of an entrepreneurial management plan, and that definitely will give you a better idea about how you can actually reach to that level. Then an entrepreneurial management plan establishes how risk can be balanced for unexpected issues. Change management. If there's any change happening, there's any unpredictable flow that is going on in the world, how can you actually cope up with that? How can you actually, try to create something out of it which is actually going to be useful for your customers, for your business, for your employees? So those are all things which will be possible if you have a solid entrepreneurial management plan with you. But if you do not have an entrepreneurial management plan, then definitely things can be a little lost for the employees, for people, and the actions will not be that coordinated. So in order to make sure that the processes are running smoothly, the actions of people are coordinated, and we are moving in a particular direction, we have a particular goal, we should make sure that there's an entrepreneurial management plan that we have as an entrepreneur, as an innovator. All right. So now that you have reached the end of this course, it is great that you have covered all other particular modules and you must have had a better understanding of what exactly is an entrepreneur and what exactly is the role of management when we are talking about entrepreneurship. So we actually started with the definition of entrepreneurial management, where we understood that when we talk about entrepreneurship, definitely it is about taking risks, it is about starting something, it is about taking initiatives, it is about innovation, but at the same time it is also about managing those things when your business starts growing. We have seen that for an entrepreneur the journey is generally from an entrepreneur to an entrepreneurial manager to a manager finally, because initially when you want to start up a business, when you want to start something, a new venture, the main idea is in order to start that you need to solve a problem. So it requires a lot of risks that you need to take, a lot of innovation that is required. But once that innovation part is done, now it is time for you to sustain in the market. And in order to sustain, you need to make sure that all the processes are getting better. You need to improve the processes, the daily tasks as well, the daily operations as well. So in order to do that, you need to manage the resources. Better resource management, better people management, better management of the finances, each and everything comes into the picture once the business starts growing. And especially if your business is growing on a large scale, then manager role become more important than an entrepreneur. Definitely the role or the power of innovation will not be diminished at any point of time, but the role of manager will keep on becoming more and more prominent as you move forward with this journey of an entrepreneur. We have seen that there are different types of entrepreneurship, there are different styles of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs will be innovators, more of an innovator. Some entrepreneurs will be opportunistic, some will be revolutionaries, some will have a different mindset, some will have a mix of it. So it always depends upon how you see a problem and how you actually want to turn it into an opportunity, a potential opportunity, and you have a goal as well. There are certain characteristics that we have understood that these are the major areas where actually entrepreneurs do something that makes them successful. For example, having an open mind, having an ability to take risk, having an ability to adapt with the change. So these are certain things that we have discussed. So if you can develop these skills, then definitely it is going to help you in starting a new venture. So I think this course has given you a very good idea about what exactly is entrepreneurship, what is the role of management in that, and if you want to become an entrepreneur in your life, how these small things can actually help you in starting something which is very, very big. Maybe you want to solve some business problem, maybe you want to solve something which is a social cause, or maybe you want to start on a very, very small level, or maybe on a scalable startup level. It completely depends upon the innovative mind of the person who's going to start the new venture. But eventually it is all about the at the center of it, there's innovation, there's an ability to take risk, and eventually there should be a ability to sustain this business as well. And in order to sustain it, you have to manage things with innovation not getting diminished. Now I think I have given you a better idea about how management can be applied to entrepreneurship. If you also want to become an entrepreneur, what are the characteristics that you should actually try to develop, and how exactly you can sustain your business, sustain your new venture into the marketplace. So these are certain things that we have actually covered in this course, and I'm very sure you have learned, and it is only going to help you.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I'll respond to your comments.